So Stephen King's new book, Never Flinch, will be out soon. It's a Holly Gibney book. Now, if you don't know who Holly Gibney is, she's a character Stephen King created in Mr. Mercedes. And then she appeared in the sequel, Finders Keepers, and then the sequel to that, End of Watch. She's also in The Outsider, which I think is a fucking brilliant horror novel. And the latest book King just wrote was just called Holly, a book about her. Oh, and If It Bleeds, she also features in that Stephen King story. So people are funny about her. They either love her or they hate her. I don't really care. I'm from Western Australia, so to me she's just a fictitious character. I did check out the synopsis for it, and it sounds familiar to me, which made me make this video. So it's about a woman's rights activist coming to a town to speak, and a bunch of pro-lifers, I imagine, wanting to assassinate her or stop her. Now, does that ring a bell for you when it comes to Stephen King? Because in the late 90s or early 2000s, he released Insomnia, a masterpiece of a novel with connections to the Dark Tower, which is about a pro-abortionist named Susan Day coming to Derry and talking to the town about abortion rights, and a bunch of people wanting to assassinate her and firebomb the Planned Parenthood building. It's a great novel, Insomnia. It's one of his best books ever. So he's done that. But then I remembered there's a book I haven't read of Stephen King, his very first unpublished novel, The Sword in the Darkness. It's in a museum somewhere. The synopsis to that, and I've always known, is a woman's rights speaker coming to speak to a town, and the town being completely up in arms about it, and everything going crazy to hell. Maybe they try to assassinate her. That's like the basic synopsis for Sword in the Darkness. So it's a story he always wanted to tell, and then he finally did publish it with Insomnia, and he did it brilliant. It's one of the greatest King books ever. And now his new book, Never Flinch, seems to be that again, that synopsis again. Now, we know the current temperament of the world right now in social issues, and this is a big one. So it's like, has he forgotten that pretty much his first attempt at the big novel was Sword in the Darkness about this topic, and that he did it perfect when he did Insomnia? Like, he did it perfect, man. You saw both sides of the argument in Insomnia. You saw the evil of, the bad guys in it. And it's a book you'll never forget. So now Never Flinch is out. And it's the same story. You wouldn't want to pick up a new King book and find out it's about a town, a family that moves to a small town, and there's an Indian burial ground in the hills. You'd be like, hey, shit, I've read that already, man. That's Pet Sematary. So I'm a bit spewing. I'm not spewing because it's a Holly Gibney novel. Spewing because we've read this. We read this with Insomnia. You've done this book already. And I just recently finished his short story collection, You Like It Darker, and he's done it in there too. There's a story about like a dying relative with the power to transfer his soul into one of his younger relatives, and that's what that little story's about. I can't remember the title, but as soon as I finished it, I'm like, King, you did that in Skeleton Crew with the story Grandma, about the evil witch Grandma who possesses her grandson George and then lives her life through him by the end of the short story. When I read that new story, I wondered, King, did you just forget that? Did you forget that you've written this already? And now looking at the synopsis for Never Flinch, it's like, you've done this before, man. You did it with Insomnia, you did it with Sword in the Darkness. We'll see how much different it is, but I'm not that excited. Anyway, just a thought. Read good books, write good books, don't take any shit from anyone.